I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on percent applications. We'll talk about sales tax and discount. I have also added two questions related to tips. Now, before we begin, there are a few terms which we should understand. The first one is Goods and Services Tax, GST. So GST is the tax on services and is collected by the federal government. The second tax is provincial state tax, which is PST. Now PST is a sales tax collected by the provincial government. Now since these taxes are collected by different governments, we need to show their calculations separately. That is kind of important to understand. Now in some questions, however, you could combine this and then write 7 plus 8% as equals to 15%, right? So you could use 15% to check results, right? But most of the time, you are always required to write separately both the taxes since they are collected by different governments, right? So that is one basic concept. Now second, we'll have questions where we need to calculate GST and PST. In most of the questions, I've taken 7% GST and 8% PST. These values are actually very different in different provinces, but we'll go with 7 and 8 since we get a figure of 14 when we add them up, and it helps us to do some easy calculations. That's the whole idea. Okay. The very first question here is we are given different items here. Items means facilities or services or some goods. Prices for each item, for example, haircut costs $20, right? We need to calculate GST, PST and the final price. When I say final price, that means we'll add price plus GST plus PST, correct? That's what we mean. Now, if price is P, then GST 7% means what? It really means that price times 0.07. 7% is 7 over 100. 7 divided by 100, 0.07, right? And PST will also be calculated on the price. It will be P times 0.08. Right? That is the meaning of 8%. Perfect. So when I say 8%, it means 8 over 100. So when you divide 8 by 100, you get 0.08. Correct? That's what it means. So I hope these things are all clear. Now, let us see how to calculate the cost after taxes when we are given some prices. So for haircut, it is $20. We have to pay a GST of 7%. That means we are going to multiply this 20 by 0.07, correct? To calculate PST, we'll multiply 20 by 0.08. That is the meaning of 8%, correct? As shown here. So definitely you need calculator. These ones are easy. You could do without calculator also. But ultimately you need a calculator. Now final price. So if you notice 7 and 8 is 15 and we're talking about 15%. Let's look into 15% in a broader way. So 15% is equal to 10% plus 5%. Do you see that? So that helps to do some rough calculations mentally and check the result. For example, if I'm talking about a price of $20, so what is 15% on $20? Well, we know the price is 20 plus the tax of, let's say, 15%. 15 means 10% is 2, right? And half of 2 is 1. So we are going to add 3 and we expect 23 as our answer. You get the idea, right? So we'll see the calculation, but you understand how. We got 15%. 10% means just 2. 10% of 20 is 2. And 5% is half of 2, which is 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3. That will be added. We expect 23 as our answer. Do you get that part? So what I will do here is first make an estimate for 64 also. So 64, right? So we have 64. What is 10%? We can write this as 6.4. That is 10%. This is 10%, correct? And now, what is 5%? Half of this. So I can write 3.2, correct? And now we can add them up. We get 6 here, 13.3. So we expect 73.6 as our answer in this place. Now let's do our calculations and try to see whether our estimates are right or not. Now at times, in some questions, you may be required to only do the estimates, right? Okay, so let's do the very first one, which is 20 times 0.07. How much we get in decimals? 1.4, right? So we get this as 1.4. It is good to write two decimal places since we are always looking into cents. So 20 into 0.08 gives us how much? In decimals, 1.6. So it is 1.60. Now if I add all of them, what do I get? That is to say, 20 plus 1.4 plus 1.6. I get how much? I get $23. Did I write 23 earlier? Yes. So it works. Do you see that? So estimate of 15% is a very simple calculation. So when we begin with, it's a good idea to kind of get an idea of what should be the result. Now let's do the second one, which is for the shirt costing $64. So on 64, we'll multiply by 0.07 and we'll get a decimal value of 4.48. So I'm not writing times 0.07. I've already written on the top, right? 64 times 0.08, which is 8% of 64, is 5.12. And now I have to add 5.12 plus 4.48 plus the original cost, which is 64. That gives me how much? That gives me 73.6. 73.6. Do you see that? So our estimate was accurate. Perfect. So if you have to find 15%, you can split it into 10 and 5. 10 is moving a decimal place. 5 is half of that. That gives you the answer. Correct? Now, I would like you to pause the video and calculate the values for computer, which is $12.99, right? If you need to estimate, you can round it to $1,300 and estimate. Perfect. It will not be a bad idea, right? So $1,300 with 15% will be what? We'll split into 10 and 5. So it'll be 130, and half of 130 will be how much? So half of this will be, it'll go 65, right? So total, you have to add this to get your result. So we get 5, 6 and 3, 9, and 1 and 3, 4, 1495. Let us calculate and see. Are we close by? Definitely. This is just slightly higher, right? $1. In rounding, that will give us probably the same answer. Okay, let's see. So we get $12.99 times 0.07, which is equal to, in decimals, 90.93. And now we'll do $12.99 times 0.08, and that gives us in decimals 103.92. Let's add them all, right? So 103.92 is already there in the calculator, plus 90.93 and plus original cost $12.99, and that gives us a value which is 1493.85, right? So see, our estimate was fairly close, 1495, not a bad estimate at all. Do you see that part? We rounded and then worked out. So it is a good way to estimate your final cost after the taxes using 15% as 10% plus 5%. So I would like you to look into this part of the video carefully and understand how to work with tax, especially mental calculation, how to estimate your answer after the tax when the total tax is 15%. Perfect. But I hope you must have clearly understood what we did here to find GST and PST separately. Why do we do so? Because these taxes are collected by different governments. So we have to hand them over all the taxes collected. So they should be worked out separately, right? So I hope you understand how to calculate the price after the tax, especially GST and PST. Now I'd like you to watch the other videos in this playlist where we'll talk about discount and tips. We'll talk about calculating price after discount for different kinds of items. For easy calculations, we have taken numbers which can be worked without calculator also. However, you can always use calculator to do your calculations. Now, we are given 3 items here with % discount on their selling price. Always this discount is given on selling price, and then once the discount has been deducted, we get the final price which you pay to buy the material. The very first one is 25% off shirt costing $52. It means what? It means that the actual price is $52, which is the selling price, but we'll give you something less. And what is the discount? Discount is 25% off the price. So 25% means 25 out of 100, right? That is 25%. Off means multiplication, is 52. So you have to do this calculation to get the discount. So let's use the calculator to find it just now. 25 times 52, and we divide by 100 to get 13 as our answer, right? So it should be 13, right? Now 25% is a very simple value to calculate. It means 1/4, correct? So half is 26 and half of 26 is 13. Now, to find the final price, this is the discount. So we have to always take away discount, right? So discount is something which you should take away, right? So it's kind of, we put it in brackets, means minus it. So you minus this discount of $13 from 52. And then you get your final price. So let's do it. So we go 52 minus 13 equals to 39. This price will be in dollars. Let me write dollars right on the top, correct? Okay. So that is definitely one way of doing it. We'll talk about shortcut also, which will be our method 2, which we'll discuss after solving all of them. Next one here is 20% off concert ticket of $120. So 20% means 20 out of 100. That is what it means. Off will do minus, and this off is the price, 120. So let's calculate. That means 1/5, right? So you know it is 1/5. You could do without calculator, but let's do with calculator, right? And then we'll divide by 100 to get our answer, which is 24. Okay. And now here, final price should be how much? From $120, we have to take away 24, correct? So if you take away 20, you get 100. 4 more means 96. Is that correct? Right. Now, 15% off jacket price of $140. 15% means 15 out of 100 times 140. Let's do it. You could also write 0.15, right? So you can write 0.15 times 140, right? So at least one step is lesser, we get 21. Now once we get 21, we have to take away from 140 this value of 21 to get our answer. So we get 140 minus 21 equals to what? 119. So we get a price of 119. Does it make sense to you? Correct? So we got all this. Now, let us try to see and understand how could we do it direct, right? So, and we'll understand the meaning of discount much better. Now, when I say the discount is 25%, that means how much do you pay? That is what you have to think about. You do not pay 25%, but in this case, you pay 75% of 52. Does it make sense? You pay 75% of 52 since 25 was off. You were not paying, say, 25. Is that correct? Now some of you who are good in fractions could do 75% means 3 over 4 times 52 and get your answer, right? So in a game of cards, 4 players when they play, they get 13 each, right? So it is 3 times 13, which is 39, right? Well, if calculator is allowed, no problems. 75% means 0.75 times 52 and you get your answer 39. Is that correct? So it is kind of very fast calculation in a multiple choice test paper. So 25% of costing 52 means 0.75 times 52, right? So it is 0.75 times 52. You get your answer straight away. So here, when I say 20% off concert means you are paying how much? 80%, right? That means 0.8 times 120. Isn't that simple? This decimal goes away. 12 times 8 is 96. You get your answer. So sometimes it is kind of faster to work this way. I hope you're getting the idea, right? So to begin with, it may be slightly tricky, but once you get used to or some practice, it will be very fast. 15% off jacket. So you are paying how much? You are paying 85%, correct? So you could do 85% means 0.85 times 140, correct? This is one way of doing it. I can show you a shorter way also. Let's do this first. 0.85 10 140. Even with using calculator, it is faster to calculate this way, right? Now, with 15%, 0.85 was a very difficult number to work with. We have another way to work out 15%. Think like this. 15% is combination of 10% and 5%. Is it okay? Now, 140 was our number, right? So our number was 140. What is 10% of 140? Let's calculate one by one. What is 10%? Just one decimal has to be moved, right? And 5% is half of 14, which is 7. And when you add them up, I mean, that is a discount. So when you take this away, we get 119. You understand? You have to add these two guys, right? To get 21. So taking away 21 from 140 is 119. Does make sense to you? So that is the discount, right? So 21 is a discount, which we got this 21. Do you see that? So whenever there's 15%, you could split into 10 and 5 and think about it. Now these calculations, which I am showing on the side, are very important, since as we move on, we'll have to have very difficult questions on percent. If you know these small tricks, they can actually help you to understand better and to perform better in such questions. I hope it makes sense. In question number 3, we have a very tricky question. I like you to pause the video, understand the question, answer, and then look into my suggestions. Let's read it first. The price of a pair of shoes is $40 plus 13% tax. If the pair of shoes is marked at 13% off, then will the final price be $40? Explain your answer. Right? So what we are given here is that the price is given as $40. Correct? And then we are saying that discount is 13%. And we also know that on this particular price, the tax is 13%, right? Now, the question for you is to figure out what is the final price. Right? This is what you need to figure out. Now, as you know, discount will be taken away and tax will be added. Now, will these two 13% cancel out and you get the final price as $40? That is your question. Perfect. So I like you to think about it. This price will be 40, this price will be more than 40, or it will be less than 40. That could be a multiple choice question. Is that clear? Now let's try to figure it out using our calculations. I think you must have got the answer by now, but definitely let me tell you, this is not 40, right? So let me write down here, it is, if you are thinking it is 40, then that is a wrong answer. Now let's see why. Okay. So the calculation here is like this. We have to do 13% of 40. That means 0.13 times 40. How much do we get? Let's use calculator, right? 52 we know, right? So let's do 5.2 I mean. So let's do 0.13 times 40 is equal to, in decimals, 5.2. That is the discount. Now if that is the discount, the price is 40. So if you take away discount, what do you get? So the net price will be, so we'll say discounted price will be 40, take away 5.2, right? I should write 5.20. So let's take away from 40 5.20, which is in decimals 34.80, right? Now the tax of 13% will be on 34.80. So what we have here, we have to add a tax which is 0.13 times 34.80, which is how much? We already have 34.80, we'll multiply by 0.13, and what we get here in decimals is 4.524. Okay, rounding to 4.52. So you can clearly see 4.52 is much lesser than 5.20, right? So that becomes your tax. So the amount to be paid will be how much? So after discount of 34.80, we'll be adding the tax of 4.52 and see what do we get. So let's do it. 34.8 plus 4.52 is actually equal to, in decimals, 39.32, not 40. Less than that. Do you understand? Now, why is it so? We gave the same discount as the tax. The idea is, discount was on $40, right? So the important thing here to note is that discount was on $40, right? But tax is on discounted price, which is lesser, right? Which is lesser, right? So net price is lesser. Therefore, net price is lesser. Is that clear? Is that clear? So we found 13% of 40, which was $5.20. However, the tax on the reduced price was only $4.52. So this difference gave us the difference in 40 and 39.32. Is that clear to you? Now this is a very important question which could be asked in so many different ways, especially in multiple choice questions. So keep this in mind. I hope that helps. We'll talk about tips in this particular example. Question number 4. When you eat in a restaurant, it is normal to leave a tip that is between 10% and 15% of the bill. For food bill of $36, what range of tip would be acceptable? You can always pause the video, answer the question, and then look into my suggestions, right? So we have $36 bill. What is the range means? What is the maximum amount of tip which should be paid if that is the rule, and what is the minimum amount? I should say the norm, right? So that will give you two values. We're looking for these two values for tips. Now one value, which is the lower limit, is 10%. The other one is 15%. So you need to calculate these two. So 10% of 36 is how much? Well, the 10% of 36 will be 0.1 times 36. You have to just change the decimal, which is $3.6, correct? Or 3.60. 15% will be 0.15 times 36, which is going to be, rough calculation, if 10% is 3.60, you add half of this, right? So you can add like this. We have 3.60. What is half of this? 1.80, right? So when you add this, you get 14, 4, and 1. So you get 5.40. Correct? So the value between these two becomes the range of our bill. Correct? So the tip could be anywhere between, it could be equal to these values also, between 3.60 to 5.40. Values, of course, are in dollars. Is that clear? So that is how we are going to actually solve such questions. I hope it makes sense. Here is question number 5. I paid $64 for the taxi ride with 15% tip. What was the actual cost of the ride? So you can pause the video, answer the question, and then look into my suggestions. Now what does this mean? It really means that there is some actual cost, right? So let's make a framework. So actual cost. Now I am paying 15% tip on this actual cost. So actual cost plus 15% tip. And once you add this up, you get the final payment. Finally paid. So in this particular question, we are given that I paid $64. What you need to figure out is what was the actual cost. Is that clear to you? So we are going to do reverse calculation in this particular question. So I'd like you to pause the video, find the answer, and then look into my suggestion. Okay, so let's see how to do this particular question. Now if you think about it, we have paid something which is 15% more than the cost, right? So if the cost was a particular amount, this is 1.15 times, right? So if cost was, let's say, C, then we multiplied this by 1.15 to get the value. But if I have to go back, because 15% more, right? So original cost plus 15%. 15% means what? 15% means 0.15, right? Plus the cost. So it becomes 1.15. So if you have to go backwards, what should you do? We multiply to come in this direction, right? So to go backwards and to get to the cost, we should divide, right? So what we should do here is we should divide 64 by 1.15 to get our answer. So if I do that, what do I get? I get 64 divided by 1.15, and this gives me in decimals some weird answer, which is 55.65, right? Let's do it again. So I paid $64. Okay, 64 divided by 1.15 is giving me 55.65. Okay, we'll keep this. So what we can do is kind of do a reverse calculation also. So we have done this. Now let's figure out if this price is 55.65, then what is 15% on this? So we are trying to check our result, right? So we have 55.65. So if I add 15%, which is times 0.15, how much do I get? This amount will be 8.34. So I have to add 8.34, right? So if I add this amount, what do I get? So when I add 8.34 to 55.65, I do get 63.99, right? So basically, because we rounded this, so we get 63.99, right? So I think that is correct. So we got 64 and 63.99. That is because of the rounding. So we do get the answer. So the idea here is, when we are going back, we have to do division, right? We know we are looking for a smaller value there. So you'll divide by 1.15 to get that answer. Does make sense to you? So that is how you could easily get your answer. Perfect. Here is another very interesting question. In this series, we have many questions related to sales tax, discount, and tips. I like you to actually go through other videos also so that you get the complete concept. Question number 6 here is, after discount of 20% and tax of 15%, I paid $44.16 for a shirt. Find its actual price. All right, so we have actual price right there. On actual price, we'll have a 20% discount. And on 20% discount, we are going to have 15% tax. And once we add them all, what we get is 44.16. Right? So what we get here is 44.16. So what we need to do is step by step go up. Perfect. So how do we find the figures? So we should understand that this value is lower, right? We add 15% to get to 44.16, and whatever this value is, when you add 15%, that means this is becoming 1.15 times, correct? So to go from here to there, what should I do? Since we have added 15%, I should actually divide 44.16 by 1.15. Is that clear? All right. I should divide this amount by 1.15 to get the amount which was after discount. That is the first step. So let's figure this out. So we have 44.16 divided by 1.15, and that gives you a value of 38.40. Okay. Now the idea is that we have to get the sales price. So we are going from a discounted price, right, to the higher price. This is 20% off, right? So the actual price was higher, right? So what should you now do to get that higher price? Right? What should you do to get that higher price? So after 20% discount, it becomes 38.40, right? So that price will be in somewhere around 40s, so that when you take away 20%, you get 38.40. So what could that be? That is what you need to now think and write down your answer. So I'd like you to pause the video, think about it, and then write down your answer. So I hope you got your answer, right? Now think like this. When from actual price you came to the discount, what did you do? You did not pay 100%. You paid 80%, right? 20% discount means you paid 80%. So when you go back, you have to divide by 0.8, right? So you get 38.40, divide by 0.8 to get your answer. Does make sense to you, right? So then you get the actual price. So you get 38.40 divided by 0.8 gives you 48. So $48 becomes the actual price. Do you understand the concept, right? So it's a very important concept. How do you go back? Now let's check our answer. So if we start with $48, right, then 20% off means 0.2 times 48 is actually equal to, in decimals, 9.6. So we'll do minus 9.60, right? This is 0, 0. So we get 48 minus 9.6, which is equal to 38.40. So we get 38.40. Now on this 38.40, we have to add 15% tax, right? So on this, we do times 0.15. So that is the tax, which is equal to 5.76. So plus 5.76, and this is the tax, correct? Add it up. So when you add 5.76 to 38.40, you get the value as 4416. Correct? Which is what you paid. Is that clear to you? So I hope by the end of this video, you have understood all the concepts, how we can quickly go from the actual price to a discounted price, then to a taxed price, and then also see it backwards. So this particular concept of, 15% adding means 1.15, 20% discount means paying only 80% helps to go back and forth and find the right values. So that was the key on this particular video. I hope you understood the concept. Feel free to write your comments and share your views. If you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. Thanks for watching and all the best.